People often ask me why Indonesia felt like home to me and why it still does after so many years. And honestly, that's not a question that I can answer quickly. It wasn't one moment, it wasn't one decision, it wasn't even something that I understood. At least I didn't understand it right away. I understand a little bit now, but still, I don't know, I'm not sure. But it was something that unfolded slowly, quietly over time. Hi, I'm Kate, and I want to explain why Indonesia fulfilled something that I'd been looking for years. When I first arrived in Indonesia, I didn't come here looking for home. I wasn't trying to reinvent myself. I wasn't escaping anything dramatic, at least. I was just taking a 3-month job and expecting to have a little adventure. And I was going to return to my life exactly as it had been before. Yeah, I'd get the travel bug out of my system. That's what the 3 months were for. Get it out of my system and go back to becoming a psychologist. I was in the middle of a doctoral program, and I'd be satisfied with a different kind of traveling. But you know what? There was something about Indonesia I had not experienced before. And at first, I didn't even have a language for it. I don't mean Indonesian language. I didn't have English language for what I was feeling. I think the first thing that made Indonesia feel different was that not belong suddenly felt okay, acceptable. I was in a foreign country. Of course I didn't belong. Back in the US, I had spent my entire life feeling out of place. I never fit into the expectations of friends or family. No, never. They always wanted something different from me. I always felt like I was supposed to be something else, something more outgoing, more conventional, more settled, more certain about things. And because I was born there, that sense of not belonging felt like I was failing. It was a personal failure. If you're born somewhere, you're supposed to fit in, right? And if you don't, well, something must be wrong with you, or me in this case. But in Indonesia, I was a foreigner. Of course I didn't fit in. Of course I didn't belong. The language was different. The customs were different. The rhythm of daily life was very different. And suddenly, that feeling I'd carried around with me for my whole life wasn't a flaw anymore. It was simply reality. Yeah, I didn't belong, but that was okay. That was incredibly freeing. For the first time, I wasn't trying to force myself into some mold that my mother or friends had made, a mold that didn't fit. I could observe, learn, adapt at my own pace. And that allowed me to relax in a way I never had before. Another reason that Indonesia felt like home was the way daily life invited connection. Without pressure, nobody forcing you to do what they wanted you to do. Here, people are curious but not intrusive, friendly but not overwhelming. There's a warmth in everyday interactions that, well, that doesn't demand performance. It doesn't demand that you have to be a certain way. Conversations happen naturally. Smiles, oh, here there's thousands of smiles, and they come easily. Time stretches a little. As an introvert, that mattered more than I realized at the time. I didn't have to be on all the time. I didn't have to explain myself constantly. I could simply exist quietly and still feel welcome. There's also something about the pace of life here that, well, it's very different, and it's aligned pretty much with how I naturally experience the world. I didn't realize that when I was in the States. Life in Indonesia doesn't revolve entirely around efficiency, productivity, constant forward motion. Things here take time, and that's okay. Plans change, and that's okay. Delays happen, and that's okay. And while that was frustrating for me at first, it also taught me something important. Life doesn't need to be rushed, productive, to be meaningful. I stopped measuring my days by how much I accomplished and started noticing how I felt inside. That was a nice change. That shift alone changed me. Language played a huge role too. Not just learning Indonesian, but being humbled by me humble? Well, yeah, I guess I was. I was humbled by the process of trying to get along in a language that I didn't know very well. When you're fluent in your native tongue, you don't realize how much power and confidence comes with that, with being fluent in that tongue. Suddenly, learning Indonesia and making lots and lots of mistakes, I was someone who struggled to express simple needs, and that stripped away my ego very quickly. But instead of feeling embarrassed, I found myself feeling curious, even a little playful about learning. I made some big mistakes, yeah. Every small success, though, felt like a victory. Every mistake, it became a story and a joke sometimes. And people here were patient. They didn't make me feel stupid. They were thrilled that I was actually trying to speak in their language. And they didn't rush me. They met me at the point that I was at. That kind of patience creates trust. And trust creates belonging. Indonesia also gave me something I didn't really know that I was even missing: permission to live differently. People didn't expect me to, to be productive, and that was a real revelation. I didn't have to chase a version of life that never felt right to me when I was back in the States. I could build something quieter, something more aligned with who I actually was and who I wanted to be. And over time, that alignment deepened. I stayed. After the 3 months were over, I stayed. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to. Years passed, jobs changed, cities changed. I lived in Jakarta, now I live in Yogyakarta. I moved from Jakarta, 20, 30 years ago. My life evolved, but that sense of being in the right place never left. And then one day, this is when I was still living in Jakarta, just 4 or 5 years after my first arrival, I had a moment that surprised me. It didn't just surprise me, it shocked me. I had just returned from visiting the US. I got into a taxi at the airport in Jakarta, and just as the car pulled away, I felt relief, deep relief. And I heard myself think, oh, God, I'm so glad to be home. That shocked me to the core. I'd never felt any place in the US was home. That was the moment I understood something, a little understanding, not a lot. Home wasn't where I was born. Home was in Jakarta. Home was where I was feeling who I really was. I was becoming the person I wanted to be. And why does it still feel like home now, after more than 4 decades here? Because Indonesia continues to allow me to be who I am, not who I was expected to be. Yeah, they see me as a foreigner, but that's okay. They don't mind that. I've grown older here. I've changed a lot. I've learned how to live in a way that is the way I like. My introverted self likes. My curiosity, my need for meaning over noise. Yeah, that works here. Indonesia hasn't demanded that I keep up or reinvent myself every decade. It's allowed me to age with grace. Well, I don't know if grace is right. At least on my own terms, let's put it that way. There's also a deep sense of groundedness here that I don't take for granted. Life isn't perfect. It's not perfect anywhere in the world, right? And I never want to romanticize life here in Indonesia. There are frustrations. There are challenges. There are things that have required more patience than I ever thought I had. But I did find I got patient. But there's also a sense of continuity, of roots growing slowly. I don't feel disposable. I don't feel invisible. I feel kind of woven into my everyday life here in small, ordinary ways that matter. At least they matter to me. And perhaps most importantly, Indonesia taught me that home isn't a place you decide on logically. Well, at least not logically. It's something you recognize in your heart. You recognize it emotionally. It's the place where your nervous system relaxes, where your pace matches the world around you, where you stop asking yourself who you should be or is this all there is, and start living as who you are. And you like it. For me, that place happened to be Indonesia. I would have never predicted it, not in a million years. And I didn't plan it. I didn't expect it to happen. I was lucky. But because quietly and patiently it welcomed me, Indonesians are incredible people. They never asked me to become someone else or to fit into a certain mold. And that's why, after all these years, this still feels like my home, here in Indonesia, in Yogyakarta. So I hope that gave you a little idea of what my life has been like, or not exactly what it's been like, but why it's been good for me to have come here and decided to stay. I never thought I would decide to stay. I was going home after the 3-month job ended, but I wasn't ready. And I'm still not ready. I figure I'll be here until the very end. So thanks a lot for coming along with me. And I hope you'll come along on another video. If this meant anything or you liked this at all, please like it and share it. Please subscribe. I'm trying to build this channel. It's not going very fast, let me tell you. Not as fast as my other channel went, but I'm working at it and I don't want to give up. And I need your help. So thanks a lot. Bye. Bye for now. See you next time.